Hello. Here I'm just going to be taking you through my mining geometry resource that I created on SolidWorks. So what we have here is we just have the contours of a small hill rising up like that there, and then we have our stratum of ore here as well. And then what I did there after I created that there, I just completed a question based around this here. So a question to find the strike and dip of said stratum down here. So I see the first thing I did, I just took it up into auxiliary. I found my strike. I brought that down to where my strike is along my stratum, and then I found my dip angle here. And you can see that all of my points, so my points line up correctly with my angle. So there's just one line taken straight across here, but I can see that my point lines up with this line here along where it should be. So it should be lining up here. And what this resource is it's just an interactive model on SolidWorks for pupils to engage with. So this would be something you'd show to pupils maybe after they've completed a question based around mining geometry already. And what you can do with this model is you can click and drag any point along our stratum, like this here, and you can see how that will affect our angles. So you can see I've moved that, just affect our different views of the stratum. So you can see I moved that point here, and you can see that my dip angle would have changed and my point along my stratum changed as well, so it moved to a new place. And I'll show another example here. So see there, we moved that point quite drastically there, and you can see how my stratum is now a completely different size. You can see my strike is longer, and my strike is at a completely different angle, and my auxiliary view is at a completely different angle as well, and it's much closer together, my auxiliary view. So what this is for is it's to help pupils visualize how changing outcrop points. So you can see that one's gone a bit mad there, but you can see how that changing outcrop points is going to give us completely different views in relation to completing this question. So now you can see that we have kind of a much we have a much kind of a narrower stratum here now when we're looking along our strike. So we can see, pupils will be able to see that if we move outcrop points in along different contour lines, how that's going to affect the question, or how that's going to affect their completed answers. And so I think making it interactive is really helpful, as pupils will be able to see how kind of maybe rotating a stratum around would affect where our auxiliary views need to be taken from, and it'd affect kind of length of our strike and just general things like this here, and how we view the stratum. So I think that'd be a really helpful resource for pupils to help them visualize how much these questions can change if if they're undertaking them. And as well, at the same time, it's also very useful to see that no matter where they change these outcrop points, that they all will still line up. So you can see this contour line here and up here is redundant because that's just the very top of the hill, but they'll still be able to see how all these points line up. So like, for example, this here is still along our stratum. This point here, it's always going to be along our line, and the reason for that is because we know that when we take an auxiliary view along our strike, we are seeing our stratum as a single line. So that'll just kind of reinforce that concept, and pupils will be able to visualize a bit better. But that's the main reasons that I've made this resource, and I think it'd be very helpful for pupils within the class.